Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real straight tonight. It's gonna be so hard. I'm not here to dress it up. I'm not here to lie to you. And I'm definitely not here to sell you a shortcut. If you're waiting on easy, you might as well sit down and get comfortable, because the road to anything worth having is paved with difficulty. And the reason it feels so heavy is because what you're carrying is valuable. Let me tell you something about hard seasons, because most people misunderstand them. When life gets heavy, when everything feels like it's pushing back against you, the first thing you start thinking is that you're being punished. You start asking yourself what you did wrong, why it's always you, why nothing seems to work out the way you planned. But here's the truth, a lot of folks don't want to hear hard seasons are not punishment, they are preparation. Nobody gets promoted without being trained, and life trains you through pressure. See, if everything came easy, you wouldn't grow any muscles, you wouldn't develop patience, discipline, character, or faith. Easy doesn't build anything strong. Easy makes you comfortable, and comfort is the most dangerous place you can live if you have a dream. When it's hard, when it hurts, when you feel stretched beyond what you think you can handle, that's life saying, I'm getting you ready for something bigger than where you are right now. Think about it. You asked for more. You asked for success, for purpose, for a better life. But you don't get more responsibility without more resistance. You don't get higher levels without heavier weights. So when the struggle shows up, instead of complaining, you need to start paying attention. Because struggle always brings instruction. It's shaping how you think, how you react, how you move when things don't go your way. A lot of people quit right in the middle of preparation because they think the pain means stop. No, the pain means stay. Stay in the discipline. Stay in the work. Stay in the faith. Because what you're learning right now is how to stand when nobody is clapping for you. You're learning how to keep going when results are slow. And that skill right there, that's priceless. Let me tell you something else. If you're being prepared, it's because what's coming requires a stronger version of you. The blessings you're asking for would crush the person you used to be. That's why you're being stretched. That's why your patience is being tested. That's why your mindset is being challenged. Life is upgrading you, but upgrades take time, and they don't feel good while they're happening. You can't skip preparation. You can't pray your way around it. You can't shortcut it. Everybody you admire, everybody you look up to, has been through a season where they felt overlooked, underpaid, underappreciated, and exhausted. The difference is they didn't interpret the struggle as rejection. They understood it as training. When it's hard, you're learning how to rely on something deeper than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays. Work ethic stays. And those are the things that carry you when emotions run out. Hard seasons teach you how to show up even when you don't feel like it. That's maturity. That's growth. So instead of asking why it's so hard, ask what it's building in you. Because life doesn't waste pain. Every disappointment, every delay, every closed door is shaping your perspective. You're being taught how to handle pressure without breaking, how to stay humble when things go right, and how to stay hopeful when they don't. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. And when the moment finally comes, when the opportunity shows up, you're going to realize the hard season didn't stop you, it built you. Fear is going to walk into the room, whether you invite it or not. It shows up every single time you decide to step outside what's familiar. The moment you choose growth, fear starts talking. It whispers that you're not ready, that you might fail, that people will judge you, that you could lose everything. And most people think the goal is to get rid of fear before they move. That's why they stay stuck. Fear doesn't disappear when you're doing something meaningful. Fear disappears when you stop trying, and that's not living, that's just existing. The truth is, fear is a sign you're standing at the edge of something important. If you weren't afraid, it wouldn't matter enough. Fear shows up when you're about to level up, when you're about to stretch beyond who you've always been. And instead of treating fear like a stop sign, you've got to see it as a signal. It's telling you that you're about to grow, A lot of people wait to feel confident before they take a step. Let me help you out with something real. Confidence comes after action, not before it. Nobody feels ready the first time they do something new. Nobody feels bold before they take a leap. Courage is built in motion. You don't eliminate fear by sitting still. You eliminate fear by proving to yourself that you can survive the move. Fear is a liar, but it's a convincing one. It paints pictures in your mind of everything that could go wrong. It never shows you what could go right. It never reminds you of the times you already made it through something hard. It only focuses on worst-case scenarios. And if you keep listening to it, it will talk you out of opportunities that were meant to change your life. Here's something you need to understand. Fear will always sound logical. It will use your past, your mistakes, your lack of experience as evidence. But growth has never been logical. Every breakthrough requires you to do something uncomfortable. The people who move forward aren't fearless. They're just more committed to their future than they are to their comfort. Walking while fear is talking means you move even when your hands are shaking. You apply even when you're unsure. You speak up even when your voice cracks. You try even when there's no guarantee. And every step you take weakens fear's grip. Fear gets quieter the more you ignore it, and louder the more you obey it. Most regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from never trying. Years from now, you won't be upset about the chances you took. You'll be upset about the ones you talked yourself out of. Fear loves delay. It loves someday. It loves excuses that sound responsible. But someday is where dreams go to die. When you decide to walk with fear instead of waiting for it to leave, something shifts inside you. You start trusting yourself. You realize you don't need certainty to move forward. You just need courage for the next step. And that's how strength is built, not in the absence of fear, but in the decision to move anyway. A lot of people like to talk about talent because talent sounds good. Talent makes a nice story. It makes success look magical, like some people were just born with it and everybody else wasn't. But talent will only take you so far, and after that, it starts making excuses. Talent gets comfortable. Talent assumes it will always be enough. And that's why consistency keeps beating talent over and over again. Consistency is boring. It's not flashy. Nobody applauds you for showing up every day. There's no celebration for doing the same thing when you're tired, when you're uninspired, when you feel like quitting. But consistency is what separates people who talk about their dreams from people who live inside them. Talent might open a door, but consistency is what keeps you in the room. Here's what happens a lot of times. Someone talented starts strong. They get attention early. Things come easier for them at first. But the moment resistance shows up, the moment things stop flowing, they get frustrated. They're not used to struggling. They're not used to being bad at something. So when the grind shows up, they disappear. Meanwhile, the consistent person is still there, still working, still learning, still improving while nobody's watching. Consistency builds discipline, and discipline builds freedom. When you do something daily, even when you don't feel like it, you start developing control over yourself. Your emotions stop running the show. Your mood no longer decides whether you show up. And that's power. Because life doesn't wait for you to feel motivated. Opportunities don't show up based on how inspired you are that morning. People underestimate what small actions repeated over time can do. They want big wins fast. They want overnight success. But overnight success usually takes years of quiet consistency that nobody saw. Every day you put in the work, even when it feels pointless, you're stacking something in your favor. You're building skill. You're building confidence. You're building trust with yourself. Consistency also teaches patience. It forces you to accept that progress is slow and that results take time. And that's where most people quit. They don't quit because it's too hard. They quit because it's taking too long. But the ones who stay, the ones who keep showing up, eventually reach a point where the work starts working back for them. Consistency thrives in commitment. Talent says, I'll do it when I feel like it. Consistency says, I'll do it because I said I would. And when things get tough, talent starts looking for an exit, while consistency starts looking for a way through. Every successful person you admire has mastered this one thing, showing up even when it's inconvenient. They worked when they were tired. They practiced when they weren't inspired. They stayed disciplined when quitting would have been easier. And over time, consistency turned average days into extraordinary outcomes. You don't need to be the most gifted person in the room. You don't need to be the smartest or the most talented. You just need to be the one who refuses to stop. Because when talent quits, consistency is still there quietly winning. Failure scares people because they think it defines them. The moment something doesn't work out, they start labeling themselves. They say, "I failed," and what they really mean is, "I am a failure." But those two things are not the same. Failure is an event. It's something that happened, not something you are. And the faster you understand that, the faster you stop letting one moment control your whole story. Every failure carries information. It's trying to tell you what didn't work, what needs adjusting, what needs strengthening. But if you're too busy being embarrassed, ashamed, or angry, you miss the lesson. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they refuse to learn. They repeat the same mistakes, blame the same people, and expect different results. That's not failure, that's ignoring feedback. Think about how many times you learned something the hard way. You touched the stove, you got burned, and you didn't do it again. That burn taught you something. Failure works the same way, just on a bigger scale. It's not there to stop you, it's there to redirect you. It's showing you where your approach needs work, where your preparation was weak, or where your mindset needs to change. The most successful people in the world have failed more times than most people have tried. The difference is they didn't treat failure like a final answer. They treated it like data. They studied it. They asked themselves honest questions. They adjusted and went back out there again. That's how progress is made. Fear of failure keeps people playing small. They don't apply, don't start, don't speak up, don't try because they're afraid of getting it wrong. But getting it wrong is part of getting it right. You don't grow by being perfect. You grow by being persistent. Every attempt sharpens you, even the ones that don't work out. Failure also builds humility. It reminds you that you don't know everything, that you still have room to grow. And humility keeps you teachable. A teachable person can go far because they're always improving. An ego-filled person stops growing the moment they think they've arrived. Sometimes failure hurts because you were emotionally attached to a specific outcome. You had a picture in your mind of how it was supposed to go, but just because it didn't happen that way doesn't mean it wasn't necessary. Some failures save you from paths that would have cost you more later. Some closed doors are protection, not rejection. If you can change how you look at failure, you change how you move through life. Instead of stopping, you start asking better questions. Instead of quitting, you start correcting. Instead of giving up, you start getting wiser. Failure isn't the end of the road. It's a sign that you're on the road, learning how to navigate it better each time. There comes a point in everybody's life where the plan stops working. Not slows down, not changes a little bit, but completely falls apart. The door you were sure was going to open stays shut. The timeline you carefully mapped out gets delayed. The people you thought would support you disappear. And that's usually the moment when faith gets tested the most, because it's easy to believe when things make sense. It's easy to trust when the results are lining up, but faith shows up strongest when none of it adds up. Most people confuse faith with comfort. They think faith means feeling calm, confident, and certain. But real faith is believing while you're confused. It's trusting when you don't understand what's happening. It's getting up and moving forward even when the evidence says you shouldn't. Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about deciding not to quit when the questions get loud. When your plan falls apart, it feels personal. You start thinking you misheard, that you made a mistake, that you weren't meant for what you wanted. But sometimes the plan falling apart is exactly what needs to happen because the plan was too small. You were trying to control the outcome instead of trusting the process. And life has a way of tearing down plans that would limit your growth. Faith doesn't mean everything works out the way you expect. It means you keep believing there's a purpose even when things don't go your way. It means you keep doing the right thing even when it's not rewarding you immediately. Faith is staying obedient in the dark, trusting that the light is still coming. A lot of people give up right when faith is required the most. They were fine when motivation carried them, when excitement pushed them forward. But when the plan collapsed and emotions ran out, they walked away. That's not because they lacked talent or ability. It's because they didn't develop faith that could survive disappointment. Faith teaches patience. It teaches surrender. It teaches you that not everything is in your control, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to let go of how you think it should happen so something better can happen. And that's hard because we like certainty. We like knowing the steps. Faith asks you to take steps without seeing the whole staircase. When everything falls apart, faith becomes less about words and more about actions. It's how you respond when nobody's watching. It's whether you stay honest when shortcuts show up. It's whether you keep your integrity when you're frustrated. It's whether you keep believing in yourself when nothing around you is confirming it. Some of the strongest moments of faith happen in silence. When you're tired of explaining, tired of waiting, and yet you still don't quit. You still show up. You still try again. That's faith in its purest form. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady. The plan falling apart doesn't mean the promise is gone. It means the path is changing, and often the new path requires a deeper level of trust than the old one ever did. Faith isn't proven when life is easy. Faith is revealed when everything you leaned on gets shaken, and you decide to stand anyway. Most people think breakthroughs look dramatic. They imagine a big moment, a loud win, an instant turnaround where everything suddenly makes sense. But real breakthroughs are usually quiet. They don't announce themselves. They hide behind exhaustion, behind disappointment, behind days that feel like nothing is working. That's why so many people miss them. They quit right before things start to shift. The hardest days are rarely random. They tend to show up right before something changes because pressure always increases before progress appears. Think about it, every level requires a push. Every transformation demands resistance. And when you're on the edge of growth, life tests your commitment. It asks if you really meant what you said when you asked for more. When you're tired, frustrated, and doubting yourself, that's usually when you're closer than you think. But because it feels bad, you assume it's wrong. You assume you're failing. You assume you should stop. That assumption has cost a lot of people their breakthrough, not because they weren't capable, but because they misread the moment. Breakthroughs don't come when you feel strong. They come when you feel weak and decide to keep going anyway. They come when you stop waiting for perfect conditions and work with what you have. They come when you choose persistence over relief. Relief would feel good right now. Persistence changes your life later. The hardest day is often the day that asks the most of you mentally. It's not just about effort, it's about belief. It's about whether you still see value in what you're doing when the reward hasn't shown up yet. And that's where many people walk away. They want proof before commitment. But breakthroughs require commitment before proof. Every time you push through a hard day, you're sending a message to yourself. You're building self-trust. You're proving that you don't quit just because it's uncomfortable. And that self-trust compounds. It becomes the foundation that supports you when bigger challenges show up. People who reach breakthroughs aren't special. They're stubborn in the right way. They stay when leaving would be easier. They keep showing up when nobody is encouraging them. They keep believing when nothing around them has changed yet. And eventually, something does change, not always suddenly, but steadily. You never know how close you are when you're in the middle of it. Progress doesn't send notifications. Growth doesn't make announcements. It just happens quietly over time while you're busy doing the work. That's why consistency on the hardest days matters more than intensity on the good ones. The day you feel like quitting might be the day before things finally click. The moment you think nothing is happening might be the moment everything is lining up behind the scenes. And if you walk away too soon, you'll never know how close you were. Breakthroughs are built by people who can endure uncertainty without giving up. People who can handle discomfort without losing faith. People who understand that the hardest day isn't a sign to stop, it's often the sign that something is about to change.